Welcome to First Responder Financial Freedom Podcast. We talk to first responders all over the nation who are investing and working on businesses outside of their first responder jobs. Our goal is to motivate and educate each other and help provide a better financial understanding for a better future. Now here are your hosts, Mike Webb, Tyler Thrush, and Aaron Foster.
First Responder Financial Freedom, episode 20, number 20. We are with Travis Oglesby. Travis has gone from medical sales to, actually, he's probably family man first, then medical sales. Now he's doing sub-twos, he's doing wraps, he's doing wholesales, he's doing flips. This guy is a staple in the community. He's got a name for himself. Happy to have him on. Travis has been friends with Mike and Tyler for a long time. I'm just getting to know him now. He took his shirt off starting the show, so it's going to get real spicy in here. So, Travis, can you lead us into where you started at, how you transitioned from medical sales to where you're at now?
Yeah. So, to start, man, I couldn't be more, pumped and honored to be here. Between Mike and Tyler, we've shared a few drinks, a few good things at a mastermind. We've been kind of good friends for a while, man. It's been cool to see you guys grow. You've got to see me grow and fall and all that fun stuff too. So anyway, man, you guys have built some amazing companies. I'm pumped to be here and I hope I can, bring a little value to this. But to kind of answer your question, Aaron, just about, how I got from medical sales to to this real estate game. Got out of school, right? We did the typical route, just went and got a job. But, medical sales wasn't too bad of a gig. I was doing some orthopedics, I was doing consumables. So I was doing the high volume, expensive stuff, and it paid well, or at least I thought it did. And so I did that for about 4 or 5 years. And then the last year that I was doing it, I just kind of started dabbling in real estate, and I got in an incredible coaching program back then. He was just trialing it and kind of took it and just ran with it and screwed it up for years. And then the reason why that was my last year in medical sales was I got fired from that job. So that dream job kind of that everybody was after and wanting to have, I lost it and probably hit one of the lowest moments in my life and ended up sleeping on my partner's couch for about 6 months. While we kind of kicked this off. And my girlfriend, who was my wife at the time, was in school and a waitress, and she was paying our mortgage and sending me $500 a month to get by on. So I don't tell you that to give like a sad story, but that's the beginning, right? It's more so like to, encourage people, right? It's like, hey man, sometimes this stuff sucks, sometimes it's hard, but there tends to always be light at the end of the tunnel. So you fast forward, to 6 or 7 years today. I've always just been the country guy who likes to hunt, fish, grew up in a little town in Southern Illinois. And that's exactly who I still am. I just have 2 kids and I got a wife. And so the hunting and fishing are almost non-existent or just really slow. But to speak to the real estate side. So today, I think I just started, I'm just hitting the 7th year. Don't know, kind of everything yet. Probably don't know much, but I'm getting pretty good at a couple aspects of it. And before we jumped on, I just checked out how many closings I've had this year, just in my company. And man, I've closed on 54 houses just this year. I plan to be right around probably just double that. I really didn't plan to do more than 90, but I think I'll be a little north of 100 this year. 60 of them will most likely be flips. My breakdown is almost exact every time. It's usually about 60% flipping. So I'll do about 60 flips. I'll hold a couple rentals because I got a couple 7-plexes and larger units that I'll hold on to, a couple Airbnbs on the lake. But the remaining of them, probably about 40, usually I do try to do around 40 wraps each year. And that's the owner financing. And my goal is cash flow, man. I just like paper. So that's kind of what got me here.
That's awesome. Those numbers are nothing to sneeze at. That's probably more than most guys will do in their lifetime. So that's really impressive. So the wraps and the sub-twos. So that's kind of a niche skill in the marketplace of real estate. Can you break down what they are first, and then we'll probably go into like how you find them and how you structure them and contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I guess let's start with the first thing, right? Because a sub two usually comes before a wrap. So let's just talk about sub two. It's a cool word. Everybody kind of wants to do it and stuff, but it is buying a home subject to is nothing more than, let's say Mike has a mortgage on his home today, and Mike is in a tough situation, right? Like he's obviously not, but let's say he was, and I would just go in and I would just take over his mortgage. That's it. He gives me the deed, and now I send the bank his monthly mortgage payment each month.
So
That's acquiring a home sub two.
So you approach Mike and say, Mike, you bought this house for, we'll use round numbers. We'll say $200,000, and then now Mike owes about $100,000, and you say, Mike, if you can't make the payments anymore, I'll take over your mortgage. You get I either pay you a finder's fee or not, or I just take over the mortgage, and now I'm making payments at $100,000. Only thing that's changed is the deed is now in your name. Does the bank know that you are taking over the payments? Do you let them know, or are they going to call the note?
No, we don't let them know. And the reason why is because they can call the note if they want to, but the way I was taught is you just don't let them know and you just transfer the deed into your name. We don't do that. I transfer the deed into, and I'm not going to go into this too deep because this is very simple, but this can lose people, is we transfer the deed inside of a trust. And so the bank sees that the deed was transferred into a trust, which is a very normal action for anybody to take. And they know if there's a trust, there's a trustee, and a trustee is a fiduciary. So fiduciary has to do what's best upon anybody's interest inside of the trust. So a bank knows this is okay. We don't need to do anything with it.
That's an interesting structure. That's actually the first time I've ever heard that. But it's right. I mean, it makes sense. The fiduciary has a responsibility to do the best action possible for the asset or the person. So
Yeah.
when people look at trust, like we'll say trust fund babies, like growing up, that was like, oh, trust fund babies, hot, like those guys.
Yeah.
Like it's actually a good tool to have in the toolbox. And as I've gotten older, I've learned that trusts and trust funds make sense because it protects your assets, and then it's harder to break apart in the legal system.
Yeah, man, it is. It's hard to get into it. And I don't know of a ton of guys doing it either, but I would imagine they're out there. But the beauty of it is too, we all have like these LLCs and everything to protect our company, or to protect ourselves, really, is what it does. So they just can't get to like who we are as people, right? And take our things. They can only take what's inside of our company. Well, whenever you place one house into one trust, a trust has a poison pill inside of it. So where if anything ever came after you or tried to sue you, anything associated with that home, they can only get to that trust, and you're not actually involved in it. You're just a beneficiary. So the trust can dissolve, and they can only try to go after that one asset. It's got 50 other benefits. It's got tax benefits, all kinds of stuff associated with it. But it's just a safe way, man.
Get the burn notice.
Yeah.
It's super simple, but like he said, so let's take a step back before we start getting too deep into the weeds with trustees and all that stuff. So just to recap, sub two, because I think a lot of people will throw around terms and not even really know what they're talking about. So you mentioned sub two and wrap. So the subject to basically just breaks down subject to the existing financing, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So why would somebody be able to or want to sell you their house? Like, yes, they're in a tough spot, but why couldn't you just give them cash? Why would you take it over subject to the existing financing? And then additionally, what if that person's then worried about, well, now that mortgage is still on my credit, my debt to income, I can't qualify for a new house. How would you speak to something like that? Because I know that's a common question.
It is. It's a common question. It's a common objection, and there's not a perfect way to get around it. It's the same way as almost a question like, why would someone sell me their home sub two, is almost this exact same question with different words of, why would somebody sell me their house at a discount? So it's all just kind of about how you position it. And because whenever we go into a house, there's a unique way. I have like this thing I call the perfect presentation. and that's our pitch whenever we go in there. Because when we walk into a home, no matter what, we're trying to buy it cash first, trying to buy it 50%, right? As deep as possible is what you want to do. But we tell them there's two ways that we buy home. The first is cash. You didn't like that offer. The second is we set you up to where we take over your payments. And so the reason why people will do it is usually because they're in pre-foreclosure. It's probably one of the hottest lists we ever use. They're in pre-foreclosure and they probably don't have equity in the home is usually it. So there's not another investor out there who can help them. And the reason why you're interested.
So you take over the payments and you don't have to worry about the closing costs that come along with that property for the most part. Like you don't have to you still got to do the title search. You still got to do the information in the back end. But for the most part, you don't have to pay all the closing fees. Is that right?
We still do a closing on the front end. Yeah. Whenever I wrap it, I don't. But on the front end, we still do a closing because there's actually a section on the HUD. I think it's line 302 or something where it says home taken over home taken over to subject to or existing mortgage, whatever.
It's right on there.
So I think literally on the HUD.
The fact that you know it's like line item shows your like professionalism. Like yeah,
it's like an assignment fee.
Yeah, it's literally.
People sit there and try and that's illegal. The bank's going to call it due. Like, not saying they won't, but like everybody thinks that's why they don't even start. Like. But it's not like you're doing anything wrong. This is just a tool in the toolbox. And that's what I try and explain to people, like with wholesaling or an assignment fee. It is not the one all be all, but that is a tool in the toolbox, just like rehabbing a house is, just like subject to, like it's just one tool in the toolbox and it's not illegal. You're solving their problem, the seller's problem, and also making it beneficial for you and your company. So, so sometimes these people, like, because obviously you and I have spoke, we've been doing these as well. Sometimes these people are in a predicament. What we found is like that they're willing to give up some equity or a lot of equity in some cases because they need to move on to that next chapter of their life for whatever reason. If there's a stupid human trick out there, somebody's going to figure out how to do it. And it's our job to kind of get them out of it. Sometimes they need a little bit of what's called walkaway money, correct? So that example that Aaron, I think, gave, the $200,000 house is now the loan balance is down to 100. So theoretically, I could take over somebody's mortgage, start making their payments, which is kind of cool because you can like go back in time. Like interest rates are up to like 6% or whatever. I can like get in a time machine, go take over a mortgage that's like 3 years old at 3.25. So it's like, boom, I'm going back to a better rate.
Yeah.
And so now I have that $100,000 in equity, but they might need a little money to move or get into their new place or pay off the RV or whatever the case is. So sometimes you'll structure it to where they get some money at closing to basically walk away, correct?
Yeah.
Could you kind of explain what that is?
Yeah. So the walkaway amount is it's any amount that they need over their mortgage. So their mortgage is, so let's say their mortgage is $200,000. They said they'll take $100,000 for the home, but they need $20,000 to sell the home to you. So that's what we call the walkaway, is the $20,000. And it's nice because you're no longer speaking to like this huge number. You're just speaking to $20,000 to that seller. So it takes so many different things out of the equation and makes things so much simpler. But like the beauty of sub 2 is like it sounds complicated and it sounds tough right up till you do one, and then you're like, oh, okay, that was really easy. Because
and then you're like, I'm sold. I don't want to flip anymore. Rentals, I don't want to do those either.
You definitely won't want to do a rental because it's like, think about this. So think about owning a home subject to and wrapping it. Okay, you do not, on a rental property. Aaron loves rentals, right? So Aaron, you pay taxes, insurance, anything that breaks, right?
I definitely don't like rentals, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm tracking.
Oh, okay. I thought you were a bird guy. So let's say, so anyway, any rental guy out there, right? Think about that. You pay taxes, insurance, and any repairs. Think about what your rental property looks like if you don't pay any of those. That's wrapping homes, guys. It's like, taxes, $100, insurance, $100, shit that breaks every month, $50, $100. So you got $300 increase cash flow on every single rental property you own. That's why we own or finance homes. I still keep rentals when it makes sense, but usually just when but I'll speak to it later, but we rarely ever keep the rentals. But sub two, like the concept, like I don't want anybody getting like confused or wrapped into like this is a hard thing, because what we kind of started off with was it sounds hard. But what you do is you really just take over that person's mortgage. Very simple. I show every one of my apprentices how to do it. It's extremely simple. There's people out there that will tell you that if you take over their mortgage, you can have their loan. It's very simple. It happens all the time. We see it all the time. And then you just go sell it, and you will have people fighting over your home like you've never seen, trying to buy that home.
So like, let's go over some of the ways you try to find some of these properties. So it's in Maryland, it's illegal. If it gets proven, it's illegal to chase after houses that are in foreclosure or pre-foreclosure, because it's considered a predatory market. So
Okay.
I'm not going to say don't do it, but it's illegal to do it. So if you get caught and they know that, then you can get a fine up to whatever ridiculous amount of money that the Republic of Maryland wants to take from them. So, but there's other ways you can go after it. So if same thing as the rest of your leads, your probates, your divorces, your pre-foreclosures, your foreclosures, what other, I'm guessing you have lists that you pull and then you market to them. Is that how you do yours?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So whenever, like before 2020 and COVID and, you know, all the restrictions and everything, all we did was low equity pre-foreclosures. That's all we marketed to. Low equity pre-foreclosures. I can't even emphasize this enough, man. It was shooting fish in a barrel is what it was marketing. And I mean that in the most respectful way. These people didn't have any option other than to lose their home to foreclosure. And we would step in, catch their mortgage up, pay their arrears, and take over their mortgage. And we usually give them some money. We bought 10 each month at the end of 2020. We bought 40 of them 4 straight months. And it was terrifying doing that many of them, because that was a heavy cash flow bleed and I couldn't sell them quick enough because it was just me. But it ended up being, you know, we came out the other end of it in a position that we didn't know existed.
So back in 2008, I know of a couple of deals that were going on, and I'll give an example of one of them because I know it intricately. Somebody they were underwater, say $100,000 on a house. So they were short selling the house like everybody else was, right? So somebody came in and said, hey, we'll take over your mortgage or we'll buy it at a discounted rate, whatever the bank approves. So they already knew what the mortgage was going to be coming in there, and they knew what it could rent for. So as they took over the mortgage, and it was, we'll just use round numbers. We'll say the mortgage was $1,500, but it was still running out for $2,000. It's the same kind of concept. As long as you know what your numbers are, your buffer in there, you have either an equity spread or a cash flow spread to make your money in. It just depends on your strategy and your game plan, it sounds like.
Yeah, it just depends. And like a simple way, you know, we always sell houses for significantly more than what we buy them, because it's a supply and demand rule, right? Like anybody listening, search for an owner finance home in your area and see how many of them you can find. That tells you what supply and demand means. You know, any home that I sell owner financing is usually 10 to 15% above market value. And I don't even include repairs in it. Sometimes we'll do 50% of repairs if it's wrecked, but it's so easy to be able to sell these homes. Did I answer your question there, or what was
you definitely did.
And the one other thing I wanted to point out on that was, like, think about this, guys. Like, let's just say you bought a home like sub 2, right? And their mortgage was $200,000. And they had a 3.5% interest rate on there. Let's just say you only sold the home for what you bought it for. So you bought a home at 100% of value, and then you sold the home at the exact same price. Well, I charge 8.9% interest. So you literally just made 5.5% arbitrage out of air. Like I literally create money out of air is what we do. It's just arbitrage.
Paper, baby.
It's just paper, baby.
And that's the thing, is like a lot of people don't realize that money is it's a made up number. So like, and
it's everywhere.
Yeah, like there's ways to increase your profit margins just by making up numbers. And it's the more you learn about money, the more you realize like it's all a controlled hustle by
the more you realize you've just been a pawn in somebody's bigger game all these years.
Yeah. And you're on somebody's balance sheet.
And to some extent you still are. You're just playing, I don't know.
That's why the banks always have the biggest buildings.
Yeah.
We're making the most money. And that's the funny part about sub 2 too, is in the 70s and 80s, these were retail transactions. Agents were putting these things together all the time because rates shot up. Sounds kind of familiar. And prior to that, everybody had low interest rates. They created these AITDs, anything you want to call it, and they were making a ton of money. And that's what necessitated the due on sale clause, because the bank's saying, wait a minute, the consumers are taking care of this themselves and leaving us out of it. Now they have this due on sale clause. They're not getting paid. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yep.
They weren't getting paid anymore.
No origination fees, nothing. They're not down with that.
Yeah, and I think the same thing will happen. And like I look at Travis. He figured out a way to do it with a trust. People in real estate are creative. They figure out what they want to do. They structure it the way they want to have it, and I like it. I mean, the trust to me is awesome too, because we all think we're protected with LLCs. Half the time, especially myself, you pierce the corporate veil without even knowing it, and that thing's useless anyways. You have a couple transactions going in and out of there, and you're like, okay, well, that's done.
Yeah. Would you guys care, Aaron? Could I share my screen? Would you guys care if I just showed your guys like an example? Because like
you can figure out how to do it, man. By all means.
Okay. Yeah. I'll see if we can do it.
We can barely get all four of us on here at the same time.
So because what I want to do is I just don't want anybody like newer to this to think that this is too hard or over their head, or even the experienced guys, right? Because like I got guys in my apprenticeship that are doing 20 plus deals a month. Like they're way bigger than me. They're way smarter than me, but I just have this like thing that I'm pretty good at, that I know how to do. And so
let's do it.
Let's see here.
Power to the people. Let's go, Robin Hood. We're gonna. Oh, we don't.
Can you guys see this?
Yes,
I can.
So what I want to do is like, so here's a deal, like it's 102, like 102 Kentmont. So this is how like I teach my stuff. This is literally like my training in my apprentice program is like, it's me on a screen teaching you, giving you the talk tracks, the scripts, showing you how to do the deal, showing the documentation needed. It's literally like, it's just me doing like my daily stuff, showing you what has to happen. But I want to show your viewers like what one deal can do for them, man. So this is, let's just do 102 Kentmont.
So for those of you guys who are listening on the podcast, we're going to put this on YouTube so you can watch it as well. So we're going to walk you through this verbally.
Okay. So, all right. So let's get this set up. So so this is purchase price. So I purchased this home. We got walk away. So I purchased this home for, it was $62,000. And I'll try to use just round numbers so I don't make it tough. The seller was in pre-foreclosure. Okay. Or the motivation really doesn't matter, guys, right? They needed to sell the home. Okay. We gave them $5,000 to walk away. The home needed about $40,000 in repairs. So it was pretty wrecked. It was a double wide too. It's just a mobile home, which I love. Mobile homes are always my best deals. But the ARV on this was, I believe the ARV was like I think it was just 110 on it. That might have been a little high. Might be giving it some there. But so take a look at, just before I even show you guys the exit on this. So look at this deal. Like I bought it for 62. It needed 40K in repairs and I gave him 5K. So this is, what is this? 102, 100. I paid $107,000 for a home that was worth 110. You know, how many guys would touch that deal that don't know sub 2, right? Like none, right?
So what rate were you buying it in at? So you bought it for, the purchase price was 60,000. The walk away payout was 5,000. So that could be like his moving costs or his down payment on the next place or rent somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you're into it for $107,000. The appraised value is $110,000.
Yep.
So you have a little bit of equity in there. You know, it's probably about 2% equity. And then you're just taking over the payments. Now, what are you doing with that deal? Are you going to do it like, are you going to try to sell it? Are you going to make it a rental? Are you going to do owner finance? Like, what's the end game?
Yeah, I'm going to owner finance this deal here. So we took this home over subject to. They had a 3% interest rate. The P&I was $290 a month. Okay, because we only pay principal and interest, right? Whenever we sell it, our buyer's paying taxes and insurance. So I sold this home for more than what I should have. I think I thought it was worth more at the time, but I sold this home at $135,000. I got a down payment of $15,000, and I'm doing this live, so I'll have to get my mortgage calculator out and everything.
Anybody who's listening, like his principal, his P&I is his principal and interest. So like when you pay your mortgage, you have your PITI, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. But because he's subject toing this, its principal and interest is $290 a month. So instead of selling it for 110,000, which is initial ARV, now he's at 135,000. So it's an increase of $25,000.
Perfect. So
clear as mud.
Yeah, but the point isn't that people know how to do this. The point is that people are aware of it, and I just want to show them what one deal can do for them. This is why we all do it. This is why you guys are joking around about like who the hell wants to flip, right? I mean, for sure, wholesale, right? It's like wholesalers are the best at what they do, but most of the time they're the least paid. So, and that's not always true, but it is a lot of times. So check out on this one transaction. So guys, I sold it for $135,000. I got a $15,000 down payment. I got a $120,000 mortgage. I always charge 8.9. I don't ever really do higher than that. And their payment to me is $956 a month, right? And I'm only calculating P&I. They're going to have to pay their own taxes and insurance. But this is why, like anybody who gets into sub 2 and just creative, really, it doesn't even need to be sub 2. It's just the creative side of the business. They love it. Because I get paid 3 times on this one deal. So we're going to get a down payment of, what do we got here? I gave the seller $5,000 and I got 15. So I made 10 grand. So boom, there's your wholesale fee. So now we got note equity. Okay, so now we have a note, which is the difference in this mortgage and this mortgage. So what is that? $58,000. $58,000 mortgage. Okay, so there's a flip. Now let's talk about how much we're making every month off of this. 956 minus 290.
Oh, that number's not going to be good.
Yeah. Yep. Everybody hates this. So, and we're cash flowing $667 a month on a transaction that nobody knew what to do with and couldn't touch. And it's an absolute home run for us.
So you're making $10,000 off the down payment because you put down $5,000 walk away. And when you did owner financing, they gave you $15,000. So the spread there is $10,000. The note on the property is $58,000 now because somebody bought it for $135 and you were into it for $107 or something like that. So whatever the difference is, and your cash flow, if you do owner financing to somebody, is $667 a month.
Yep.
So, and fireman, cop, nurse perspective, that's like, that's overtime. When I first got hired, that was about a week of work. When I first started the fire department, a long time ago, or it's like, an overtime shift or two, but it's just easy money because now you don't have to maintain the property because you don't own it. You're not the owner. So it's not a rental. It's a owner finance property. So they have to maintain the property because they're the owner. Now, if they don't pay this property, if they don't pay Travis the whatever the mortgage is in this property, then he can foreclose on this property and take it over again and do the same thing again and again and again. So we'll figure $667 a month times a 30-year mortgage because we'll hold the note for this property. I don't even know how much that is, but it's more than I'll make. And I'll shake a stick at.
Yeah, it's enough, right? The point within this stuff is like there's a car payment. Like for me, it's a game. Like my wraps, like because I buy houses cash and wrap them all the time, and so for me it's just a game. Like if my wife wanted a new vehicle, well then I have to create that cash flow before we go get it. So at $667 a month, how many of those does it take to make your viewer's car payment, your viewer's mortgage, right? A vacation, like whatever it might be, that stuff's in place for 30 years, man. And it's
replace their income because they got laid off, hurt, or or tired of getting shot at and degraded verbally every time they go to work. Like how many, seriously, like, it's cool to think about all the freedom and options this could give you. But for some people, it just might, how many of these would it take to get me out of the line of work I'm in now because I'm done? Or, just a plan B. So,
I'm gonna jump off the screen then.
Sure.
Stop sharing.
So if you have 10 of these deals, it's $80,000 a year. Like of this very specific deal, it's $80,000 a year for this deal. So
that's a good transaction though. I will say probably average, it's about $350 to $400 a month. Average note equity is around 30 to 40,000. Average profit on down payment, probably 5 to 10. It's not always huge. Sometimes they're enormous. On June 6th, I'm picking up a truck in Atlanta. It's a 2022 Denali diesel 2500 as a down payment for one of my houses. So it's nuts. Simple numbers.
That's some West Virginia shit there.
I'm telling you, man.
That's
Well, that's
awesome.
the beauty. You're the bank, man. You're the bank, man. I'm starting to
They make the
shine. I went
rules.
on a run this morning, so I think my heart rate's still climbing. But it's just the beauty of it. Like, I bought the house for $170. I sold it to this guy for $230, and I gave him $60,000 credit for his truck. So where does that put me? Exactly where I bought it. So I got a free vehicle out of it. So it's just insane what you can do with this stuff, man. And that's one example. There are probably others that, I've forgotten about.
I think this is a good time to kind of highlight your website. So your website is launchcreativefinancing.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've done, tell me, you've done a couple hundred deals in the last couple of years. You got a whole bunch of people who learned under you. Like, tell me about your program.
Okay, cool. So, my apprenticeship, it's really, I like it. I like calling it an apprenticeship because that's how I learned. Like, I went into something and it was an apprenticeship. So that means you're working with your coach to learn. It's not like, hey guys, here's my coaching program. You got to go figure it out. It's that I'm actually going to go through it with you guys. So what it looks like is it's got the typical start, right? It's got 17 hours of training. Okay. It's got, I'm the only coach. There's no one else in here. It's got a private Facebook group, and I partner with all of my students on their very first deal so that I can show them how to do it. I do what, I've funded deals. I've talked to the sellers. I do the negotiation. I do whatever we really need to do to get it done. And the beauty of what I try to do in this thing is it really does. I don't care what your business is today, right? Because everybody's in real estate. So you all got your thing, right? I flip a ton of homes because that allows me to be very aggressive and cavalier in creating paper, which is my whole thing. So if you're a wholesaler, I'm going to enhance your business and I'm going to show you how to do more deals with or grow your profit margin within that. If you're a flipper, I'm going to show you how I flip 60 homes. I live in Southern Illinois. I flip all of them in Georgia and South Carolina. I'm going to show you how to increase your profit and simplify what you do. It doesn't matter what their business is. I'm going to increase what they're doing that makes them money. And then I'm going to show them how to build the cash flow. We're not doing rentals here. We're just doing cash flow. You can do rentals if you want, but whatever you're doing, I'm going to increase it. So my goal is simple for each student. I want them to come in. Okay. There's a monthly fee. There's no way that somebody cannot be able to afford it. It is extremely simple to be able to afford it. And I structure that on purpose. Okay. They get paid 3 ways, right? Wholesale note, cash flow. We've already kind of touched on that. But I also have the one-on-one calls available to where they can meet with me anytime they want. I will join their sellers calls with them, like I mentioned. It also, we have 2 weekly calls that are what you call, I guess, coaching calls, really. They're just calls with me and all the other apprentices on there, and everybody's got deals or problems or seller I need to talk with, and I'll do them live on there if needed. And that's really about it. My business is designed to where I was getting so many questions around how do you do what you do? How do you do what you do? And I was like, I don't know, man, I'm too busy. And so I learned how to monetize this. So I got the 17 hours. I'm your coach. I have the private Facebook group. I do the first deal with them. And then once you do this, you got it. And then you're off to the races after that.
So 2 questions.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike. Knock it out the box.
I was just going to say, so on that note, like an episode or 2 ago, Tyler, and you were talking about like the velocity of deals that Bill and I have had recently. So like Bill and I joined Travis's apprenticeship, and that was how we were able to take a lot of these deals, because like he just broke down, you're sitting there getting a deal or a house that comes across your desk after, you've been marketing, and everybody else is out there using the same hammer to try and solve the problem. Cash offer. Well, now you can sit there and tell them, yeah, you want 100? I actually can give you 100. Here's how we have to do it. And so you're able to take a lot more of the deals or potential deals that come across your desk and turn them into deals for your company. Whereas before, I was just letting all that stuff go. So that's how we've been able to have an uptick in our volume. And then in the Facebook group, I posted a picture of that White House with the burgundy shutters and the tree that everybody was like, oh, great breakdown, blah, blah, blah. That deal was from Travis and I and Bill, like talking about it. Like, and yesterday, so today's the 26th, the 25th, we got our down payment and turned everything over and did the closing to where what he just broke down, literally just, we got a $20,000 down payment. We got the house for $135,000. We have no interest for 6 months, and we sold it for $225,000. And all we did was cleaned it out. And I probably didn't have to do that, but I cleaned it out, cut the grass. And so we put like $3,000 or $4,000 worth of work into it. And now we just created basically how much in equity, and our monthly cash flow on it is just under $700, like literally almost that to a T, that example. So it's like, okay, we spent, I don't even know how much we paid for the program or whatever, but there it's like, I got 20,000 down. We created a note with, what is that? Like 60 or 70 in equity.
Yeah.
So if they refi us out in 2 years, I'm going to get a check for like $70,000. That's going to suck. And then every month between now and then, I'm making almost $700, and I don't have to deal with the repairs and the things that go along with regular residential landlording, which is cool in its own regard. But like literally what he just broke down, boom. Like, how many of those do I need to do until I'm like, you know what? I'm out of this game. I'm in this game, go get me 3 or 4 dozen of those and I'm done. Like, I'm not out. I mean, I don't think you can just turn off the hustle switch, but like,
that's the only hard part, man.
I'd probably change gears.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, that's not a plug, but that's literally like something in this group on the Facebook page. It got a lot of like discussion going. Well, right there is exactly what it was to a T.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you sharing that too, dude. I knew you guys were crushing it with stuff. So that's
a relative term. Some days I'm the one getting crushed. Like I was thinking to Aaron before we got on this call.
Yeah.
Mike's got an undesirable at one of his properties right now. And he's like, let's just sell the whole thing, get rid of the whole deal.
Dude, if I could 1031 into like something that
storage facility.
If I could buy like a $4 or $5 million storage facility or something down south with way less, I would do it right now. I would be the motivated seller.
When do you think somebody's going to start a podcast that's like real estate problems?
I mean, this could be it right now. Let's start.
Yeah, this is it.
This is like a therapy session.
Man, it could be the never-ending stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's my apprenticeship, guys. Reach out to me. Any questions you got? I'm the one who's going to do the call with you and tell you about it more in detail than what we've done here. But anything I do, it's not complicated. It's true. If it's not simple, I probably couldn't figure it out or couldn't do it. And it's like, and it always seemed like if it's not simple to me, it's probably not right. And so I've got a simple process and it just works. So
I like that, because when we say tool in a toolbox, like real estate is not just buy and sell, buy and flip, buy and hold. Like there's a lot of different tools in this toolbox. So sub twos are a tool, wraps are a tool, wholesaling is a tool, buy and hold's a tool, flipping's a tool. It's just what fits you and your abilities and your bandwidth. So for me, like when I was younger, I used to like flipping. I started flipping before the 2008 crash. And then after that, I was like, well, now everything's low hanging fruit. Like I can just go in MLS and find deals. But like now I don't like flipping just because the contractor availability and quality has diminished in my experience. So it's become more of a task to flip a property. And I'll leave it at that. We can go in depth if you want, but that's pretty much it. But subject to, like, that's a great option. Like now I don't have to get my hands dirty. Like I can just buy the property creatively and then turn that property into a cash flowing asset without breaking my back or managing adult children that we call contractors. And I'm not knocking these contractors either, because there's some great guys out there. It's just they're hard to find nowadays.
It's a tough part of the business, man, and it seems like that for a lot of people. And the other cool thing is, like with the subject too, like they can. A lot of times you get questions like, well, I don't have that kind of money to get started. Drive for dollars, send mail. Well, all you have to do is like find one of these types of houses and you can get into it for like 5 to 10 grand or nothing. Who knows? Like, so the barrier for folks that maybe have a limited marketing budget or limited cash to get started, this is an excellent opportunity. Like,
how do you guys find out how much is owed on the mortgage? Like, do you go on like PropStream or something like that? Do you look up the history? Like, what do you do to find the history of the property?
You can if you want, but I don't, because I buy houses at 100% of ARV all the time. I've bought negative equity houses. I have probably 4 or 5 negative equity houses, but they cash flow like $600 a month.
That's because you're at the 8.9%, right? You're making the spread.
Yeah, I might buy it at 200 and sell it at 170, but that $200,000 mortgage has a 2% interest rate. Mine's got an 8.9. So this, if anybody understands amortization schedules, right? Like that 2% mortgage just goes, whoo, and my 8.9 just sits.
Yep.
So and then
amortized schedule is the life of the loan of the property. So like if you have a 15-year mortgage, 20, 30-year mortgage, like that's the amortized schedule. That's the life of the loan that he's talking about.
Yeah. And one thing to add in here, and we don't have to go into depth on this, but guys, I do this on 50% are bought sub 2 and I wrap. The other 50%, I literally just buy them with cash or hard money or a private lender and I wrap them.
So let me ask you a question. In this scenario, do you have to do, and this is a question from Facebook, do you have to do double closing? Can it be skipped at the end? The buyer paid the home off, the loan off? Like what are different ways you can structure this deal? Because I know there's a bunch of different ways.
Ask me one more time. I'm not sure I followed.
Yeah, that wasn't very clear. I apologize for that. So when you do a subject to or a wrap or something like that, do you double close? And the guys want to know, this is the Facebook question. Do you double close in the property on a wrap, or can that be skipped? And
yeah, we skip it.
You skip it because all you're doing is taking over the deed and then you're going to title and having it done at closing, right?
Yep. I do a closing on the front end. The back end is nothing but DocuSign, a couple clicks for the buyer. And the home sold.
And then how do you structure your payments? Like, do you have a website for it? How do you structure that?
Yeah, it's real fancy. I use apartments.com.
Okay.
And they pay it through the portal.
And that's it.
That's it, man.
Once they sign the paperwork and they're like, I'm going to pay you 8.9% and I'm going to make all my payments through apartments.com. And now you're cash flowing that spread of the whatever percent it was before to your 8.9.
Yep.
What happens if somebody makes an additional principal payment? Does that change your amortization schedule? Do you have to redo it?
It
sounds like a headache.
Yeah, I mean through our account though, there's a simple way to have it set up to where I got guys that pay extra principal all day and you love it, right? Because then you're getting to collect some of that equity quicker than what you normally would. So it increases your return. Half the time your return's infinite after the first year anyway, but it just increases your return like no other. But yeah, we apply anything over their original payment to the principal.
So right now, Travis, everybody listening to this is probably just I can just imagine Mike Flora just grabbing his steering wheel, being so amped up listening to this.
After his 5th monster of the day.
Yeah. But so it's all right, everybody's like, this is awesome. All right, I'm getting paid here. I can get started with little money. I don't have to deal with the toilets. Everything's great. What is the downfall? What is the downside to this approach?
COVID was pretty tough because with a trust, you don't have to foreclose on somebody. You only have to evict them if they do not pay. That is the biggest beauty of a trust. Well, they paused eviction moratoriums, man. That hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt a little bit. And so
did you have defaults or people not paying, or so I did. Your B2C buyer wasn't paying, but you still had to pay the A to B side, right?
You didn't have to. You could have deferred it if you wanted to, because they had all kinds of opportunity and forbearance and everything. We didn't do it. I had plenty of people. I only had 3 people of 70 that weren't paying. And the rest of them, we just would work with them or put them on a small payment plan or just something to get them through it. It really, surprisingly, because we geared up for it. We were flipping 1 home a month and putting it in an account, planning to have to cover every single mortgage payment just in case. So we were creating a buffer. But I'm going to circle back to your downside question too.
Okay.
But what we did was, what we do now is whenever somebody buys our home, they have to have 3 months contingency up front. So they have to have 3 months of payment, because that way if COVID
Is that held in
happens,
escrow?
No, we just hold it in the trust account through the trust
Okay.
banking. But you can hold it wherever they want to. It doesn't matter. They can just pay it to you, and then you have 3 months, extra in your rental account. So that was one of the things we learned through COVID was, like, hey, didn't see that coming, didn't know that would happen, and something like that's going to happen.
Old wild card.
Something's they're never going to stop showing up, right? So the important thing is just, being aware of where you're at, because if somebody has 5 of these deals, like, they can figure out how to manage through that, and not all 5 are going to quit paying at once. And if somebody has 70 of these, they're probably in a really powerful position to be able to handle a lot of things at that point, or the ability to kind of go raise capital.
Well,
and do
theoretically, I mean, it spreads your risk out. If you only had one and they quit, we were talking about this with rentals the other day. If you have one rental property and that guy goes off the rocker, like one of my guys is right now, and it's basically consumed 3 weeks of my life, and God only knows how much of my liver, right? But anyways, so you only have one rental. It's kind of like only having that one job, that one source of income. You get laid off, something happens, the company gets sold, you're done. Whereas if you have 3 to 4 different, tributaries flowing in, you have an issue with one. Well, the other 3 or 4 are offsetting that one. So same thing, 70. Some people might be like, that's way too much. That could go wrong. But you said 3 out of 70. So I would imagine, I don't know what that is as a percent. Default rate, the bank knows that if they write 100 loans, they're going to have some default, right? Like, that's just kind of how it is. There's humans involved.
Yeah.
But those 3 aren't going to sink your ship when you have 67 other ones producing.
Yeah. So your downfalls are due on sale clause is a real thing. I've had one note called, and I tell you what, it was about the most terrifying thing I've ever received in the mail in my life until you went through it. And you were like, oh, you mean I have like 120, 180 days to satisfy this loan? So all we did was I just went out and I refinanced it.
Yeah.
I just refinanced it. Boom.
So now
done,
it's like,
over.
So that's like one of the biggest things you get is like, should I start an LLC and the due on sale clause? Like, people always want to know about that. And I get it. It's a legitimate concern because that's what people hear about. They only hear about the horror stories.
Yeah.
But like you just said, it's not like you got the piece of mail Monday and they said by Friday you need to pay it in full, correct?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they were like, we're
in 180 days.
We're gonna call the note. You'll receive a letter within advising you on 120 days of when we're gonna call the note or something. And it was just
had you not been able to refi it or whatever, you've built a big enough network and you have enough relationships now that even if you had to go get a private lender to be like, hey, I need to borrow 120 and place it there until you could go flip a couple houses and just chunk off that debt, and then you own it free and clear or whatever. So like, there's so many options. And like, that's why, some people get so worried about step Z when they haven't even gone from A to B. Like, dude, don't even worry about that. Like, I'm not saying don't be concerned about it, but don't let problem 46 stop you from taking action 3 and 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't look for a reason not to do things either.
Yeah, dude, we'd always joke with the ready, fire, aim. And I say that, I mean, I'm not saying like, I'm not saying be reckless, but I'm saying don't get analysis paralysis to the point where all you do is listen to this stuff and read about it and watch YouTube videos and realize like, oh man, I've been reading about it for 4 years. Great. It's time to take action. You'll figure the rest out. Okay. That's the one thing, like, man, take something you've heard from this, something from some podcast, book, or education program, and just start taking action, man. Like, you'll figure the rest out, just like the due on sale clause. You just said somebody that's doing 70 deals, bought hundreds of deals, that still scare you. Great. Yeah. But now guess what? If you get one tomorrow, you'll be like, whatever, no big deal. Because now it's just like, you just keep getting bigger and better. Like, and that's, like, I can't stress that enough. Like, some people get so worried about the what ifs and the coulds and the can'ts. Just do it, man.
Yeah.
But
It's always,
and there's people in this group and on this call that will help you, like hold your hand, literally.
yeah.
Travis,
Aaron's
Travis, do you have people who are refinancing out of your owner finance? So like your 8.9%, do they refinance out of that? How does that work?
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Or yeah, like Mike said, you hate it, right? You hate getting that 70, 80K payday. But as far as the refinance works, so Aaron, say you bought one of my owner finance houses. So you got, you know, and I want to touch on before we leave, like make sure I touch on like, well, actually, I think your last questions are I'm going to touch on it. But anyway, say you bought the house owner finance, and you just said, "Hey, I want to refinance it." Okay, Aaron, why are you calling me? They're like, "Oh, I thought I needed to call you or something." Like, well, just go to Bank of America and get your loan. Give me a call when you need the payoff. That's it. That's all that it is. It's incredibly simple. But ask me any detailed questions you want there.
How often do they do that? Or
I've had two in 4 years.
And how many deals is that, give or take? Rough estimate.
90, 70, 90 is fine.
So we'll say 80 deals, you're still carrying a note for these people, and 2 of them refinanced out, and the rest of them are still paying 8.9%. So this can be a long-term play, and it's very, very. Some people will never take action. Like there's always going to be ditch diggers. So there's some people who are like, okay,
which is cool.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I can't quantify my success on somebody else's movements. But like if you're comfortable at 8.9% and that's where you want to live your life at, then do it at 8.9%. But if you want to put some more effort in, you want to get 3.25 or 4 or 5, like it's going to take a little bit more effort. Some people never make that effort.
And so you know how we get, like, let's say I wanted to all of a sudden like start cashing some of these out. And this is how we've got one of them done, is to where like we had a humongous note equity in there. And there's so many things you guys can do with that, guys. I sell things called payment streams. I sell things to investors with that humongous, because, you know, with 70, 80 notes, I don't have just a couple 100,000 in equity, right? Like that's millions just sitting there in equity. So I sell portions of that off called payment streams, but I'm not going to get into that. You can collect profit up front. But one of the things that we do, Aaron, like if you want people to start like moving quicker, you just call them, and let's say you're the buyer again, and I would say, hey Aaron, like I know the payoff is around, I know you owe around 210. Man, if you refi it this year, I'll sell it to you at 190. I'll give you 20 grand if you'll just refinance it right now. They go refi that thing like 28 days later. They had that thing refi.
So like you give that option to like the troublemakers. So like, you know, 20% of the problems, the 20% of the ownership causes 80% of the problems. Do you highlight like that 20% and say, hey, I'll let you buy out of this because you don't tell them, but you're my problem child. I just want to get rid of you. Do you have that option?
You could if you wanted to. This one just had like 130 grand in equity in it. And I just wanted to get that's a lot of equity just to leave sitting there. Like, yeah, it's making like $1,100 a month, but I can make a lot more than $1,100 a month with 100 grand. So that was why we did that.
Do you have to 1099, like give them an interest form at the end of the year for the interest they've paid?
We tell them that they're responsible for their own. We give them an amortization schedule.
Okay. So not a ton of bookkeeping at the end of the year. Do you get any of the tax benefits, like the depreciation?
All of it.
Yeah.
I run a cost seg on every single transaction I do.
Oh, really?
Well, every deal I keep, right? Owner financed, wrap, rental, everything.
Like the tabletop cost seg, right? Type thing.
Yeah. $560
like the
for
hybrid
cost
model.
seg. Yeah. $200,000 property gets you $50,000 depreciation year one and $6K every year after.
That's awesome.
It is, man.
You guys need me the rest of the day. I'll be out putting up owner finance signs all around.
Little bandit sign action.
It is, man. It's
dude, it's like a feeding frenzy. So just to kind of recap, and I'm going to post the link to this video to the picture I've referenced of that house. So that house is like ideal for what we've just described. We put an ad. The only way we sold this, we didn't put up a sign. We didn't do any of this crazy stuff. All we did was put it on Facebook Marketplace. Actually, one of our VAs did it. And we had over 100 inquiries within 24 hours. Now, by the time, okay, so you took 100 and we boiled it down. Like we have a funnel, basically. You have to do this, because it weeds people out and saves you a lot of sanity, or from going insane, whatever. It takes that 100 people, it boiled it down to like less than 10. And then of the 10, it took it down to 4. And then of the 4, we got down to 2 candidates where either one of them would have been fantastic. But like the people we went with, they had $90,000 in their bank account and they had 20,000 to put down, and they had stable income, like excellent references. Like you're not dealing with like this crazy, bottom of the barrel type person. Like these were just great people that didn't have any real credit. Like they've been renters all their life and they've just been hoarding cash apparently. So like the demand is there, like 100 people, like, and that price point for that area, if we would have been a little bit lower, we probably would have had 200 people. So, I mean, it's just so the demand is there, and I think it'll always be there, especially as you see lending rates increase and tightening up or whatever's going on. Who knows? Yeah. There's always going to be a demand for this product, I think.
Yeah. I bet I sell half my homes in the first week. Sometimes they take a month if I'm looking for something very specific, but it's so nice to not have to qualify people because they're not giving you 20 grand down and not making their $1,000 a month mortgage.
Exactly. So I just,
it's so simple.
On my board, I bought that house on 4/26. We signed the paperwork and collected the 20K yesterday. So 5/25. So just under a month, 29 days. Process. Yeah. Like, how can you not dig that? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Dude, I wish we could sell it for another hour. I really do, because I think this would be an easy conversation for another hour. But we're stuck to about an hour or so.
Yeah.
One thing I want to highlight is that you have a company, launchcreativefinancing.com. You have the option for elite and pro options. Each one will get you different things. Do you want to go over that at all?
We don't have to really go over it in depth. Like it's got different things for people with different size teams. If it's just you guys, if it's just one person, you got 2 people on your team, go with the lower package. If you want your whole team to get your head wrapped around this, because the most important thing, man, if you go on an appointment to buy a home, you have the confidence to know that if that home can be bought, you're going to buy it. And you want your acquisition guys to know that. So if you got a bigger team, like, you'll want the other package. It's only 500 or 750, so it ain't going to break a bigger player's team, but it's very simple, and it kind of outlines what's in there.
You said 500 or 750, so $500 a month.
$500 a month till we do our first deal together, and then it drops off. You're no longer paying anything else. You're in for free the rest of the time.
So first off, I feel like this is something I have to explain, because I belong to a mastermind just like you and Tyler, and like pay significantly more than that. Okay.
We do.
when I talk to people and I tell them, like, hey, if you spend whatever it is, $10,000 to be in this group, 2 things happen. Somebody goes, holy shit, you spend that much money, you're not the right fit, bro.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. If you could give me $1 and I gave you 20, would you do it? Of course. Yeah. So just think about it that way. Like if I just spend $500, or say it takes me 3 months to get a deal, $1,500, maybe that's a little aggressive. $1,500. Okay. You're not spending it. You invested that money, and now you're learning how to fish for deals like we just talked about. And there's a shitload of them out there. So to me, it's like trying to reprogram, because like the fire department, law enforcement, a lot of us come from like a blue collar mindset. I'm not necessarily saying that's what all of us have, but a lot of the guys we talk to, right, they never would think about spending $1,500 on self-development or education. But you invest that $1,500 and you can go make $700 a month cash flow from learning this skill. Like, dude, it's a total mindset shift where it's like, yeah, absolutely, I'll spend $10,000 to learn how to go do this. Let's do it right now. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's just one of those things. I feel like for me, it was a big mindset shift, because I was the guy, I'll watch YouTube, I'll listen to podcasts, I'll read books, and you can do that.
I'll do it myself.
It's all the information's out there, but
I'll figure it out.
Whenever you have a system, and like, if I could go back and give my younger self advice, like I posted in the group the other day, somebody's like, what should I invest in with $10,000? People are like, crypto and, OnlyFans and whatever. And I was like, dude, take that 10 grand and go get yourself some self-development. I'm not even kidding. Take that 10 grand, go get yourself the best coach that you can find for that money. That's going to level you up so much faster. And to me, it's like the time is money.
I was just going to bring that up, Mike, because you said that, and I don't think there was really any follow-up after that. Like you said
crickets, man.
And here's the thing, though. We all know, right? Like, it's a mindset shift. Again, you are not spending $10,000. You are investing $10,000. If you look at it as like any type of stock, property, anything, you are investing that money in, like Travis just mentioned, potentially with an infinite return. So if you were to say, hey, go spend $10,000 or invest $10,000 with an infinite return, who would say no? It's just getting over that hurdle to believe that that is actually true. And a lot of us grew up, like you said, either we're currently blue collar or we grew up blue collar. So when you say, oh, I'm going to go spend $10,000, it has a much different impact on your mind than I'm going to go invest $10,000 and get infinite return. It's hard, man. I mean, like I've been working on my mindset a lot, and those are a lot of the biggest hurdles. Like now everything I do for education or mindset, like with Travis, I'm like, well, in my mind, $500 a month, dude, I do one deal ever. And then now after I saw that he said after your first deal's free, it will pay for itself a million times over. And you have to train yourself to think that way. And a lot of guys want to say, hey, I want to get money back right away. Well, you may not get money back right away doing that, Mike, but you're over the course of time, it's going to be way larger than that. I mean, I've been in fuel, I think, for 4 or 5 years now. I know what I've spent on that mastermind. Have I made a million times more? Yeah, absolutely. It's like not even a question that, oh, was this a good or bad investment?
Yeah, it's crazy it's pitiful what a stock would make you versus what investing in you would make you.
Yeah, right now you'd be
yeah, you'd be a little pissed. Yeah, I lost my ass on some crypto too. It's funny. A buddy convinced me to get into like Ethereum, and like I got in, it went up like $1,000, and I was like, oh cool, I made $1,000, and then it like went down like 65%, and I was like, oh, why the hell am I? This is why am I even
exactly?
In this? I don't even know why it went down.
I did it too, but who knows?
We all have that shiny object syndrome. Like we all have that. Like, are we missing out? Fear of missing out. So, yeah. Travis, is there anything we missed that you want to go over before we wrap this up?
No, man. I mean, I tried to. The thing I always try to do, like anytime I speak or join a podcast, is just do the best try to do the best job I can, because you never know who's listening. So I hope I did a decent job. We covered, I spent a bunch of time like trying to prep with notes and everything for this. So, I mean, no, I think we covered everything, man. I appreciate you asking too.
So two things. I'll ask you 2 questions, and then we're going to wrap up with a couple of things. I want to have you back on here if you enjoy the company of these 3 knuckleheads and want to do this again. We'd love to have you back. I'm not going to let you say no. I'm just going to keep on talking, so you can't say no right now. So let me ask you your first question is, what's your motivation to keep on going? Like, what's your motivation in life?
I'm going to try not to say like, I got 2 little kids, a wife, family, I have all of that stuff. So I'm going to try not to say that, but I think that is probably one of the biggest things. Although putting that aside, like, I'm trying to think how to say it. Like, I'll try to say this the best I can. Like, owner financing a home it's pretty damn cool. Like, most of my buyers never thought that they could own a home in their life. Like I do a ton with the Hispanic community, and like half of them don't have social security numbers. They got tax IDs, which is all I need. So they could never get bank financing. Never in their life did they think they'd be able to own a home. And I can sell them that home. I can provide them that, American dream thing that everybody wants. And here's been the coolest thing that I've ever seen in my life. And I've recorded this a few times, but I've chose not to share it because I think it's a little like personal. But I would bet you that 50% of the time that I sell a home, maybe a little less, maybe 40 or 35, that buyer cries at the closing table. And they bring their families with them. It is a huge ordeal to them, and they never thought they would have that opportunity in their life. And I think, man, just seeing that, like, that gets you like excited, and it kind of makes you almost tear up as well. So I think right now, man, that's probably the biggest thing. But outside of that, I don't know if I truthfully have like a motivation outside of my family yet. I think I'm still looking for something to continue to drive me. But right now, man, like if I'm on Zoom or I'm sitting with them in person and it's a heartfelt thing, it's pretty damn cool.
I know you're a big outdoorsy, so the freedom of time is a big thing. I'm in the same boat. I know Tyler and Mike are the same way. Like for me, as my motivation before used to be, I don't want to be poor. I guess that was my biggest motivation. Like wondering where the next meal is coming from, if we have a roof over my head, like that's a big motivation. The fear of not having. So for me, as I've progressed in my time, it's changed. It's like anything else in life, like everything changes.
Yeah.
The next one is going to be, if you can give your younger self advice, what would that advice be? How old are you now? How old are you now, Travis?
I'm 33.
Okay, so if you can go back and give 21, 22, 25-year-old self advice, what would you tell them?
So I went to school for criminal justice to be a cop. So that's what I did. And got out of school and kept taking the test. And like the fitness part was easy, but I guess I wasn't quite smart enough to score like in the upper ones to where I could get hired. So I think if I had to tell myself something about this, I remember being in a gym with a really close friend of mine and we were lifting, and I remember just telling him, man, I wish that somebody would just give me a chance. All I want to make is $20 an hour. So I think if I could go back, I would tell myself, hey, you will make $20 an hour. And the other thing is, man, just don't worry so much about things. It's everything, I've had great moments. I've had terrible moments. And the terrible ones have been just amplified because of how much I worried about them and thought about them. But everything is just, if it's a problem, then you take the time to overcome it or figure it out. So I think it really would be, man, don't worry so much. This life it's so great. If you got faith, man, just lean on that. That guy takes care of everything. Just lean on that faith side. And lastly, I don't know if I like truthfully could have afforded it, but there is no question I would have gotten a coach the second that I could have. Today, my biggest thing that I ever wanted to do was I wanted to hire a Tony Robbins coach, and I did it this year. And it cost a lot of money, but it has already done so many things in my life that I never thought it could. So I think it'd be, don't worry so much. Money will take care of itself, and find you somebody who you can relate to and connect with and let them help you.
The depth of your answer is astounding, dude. Like we got deep there. I love that. Like we got a lot of dudes. No. This is something that I applaud. The guys don't give honest.
Don't ever think about it.
Yeah, you just.
How many people actually think about it?
Yeah.
How many people actually sit down and think about, what do I get up every single day for besides punch a clock? What am I here for?
Yeah.
It's a pretty big question.
Yeah, man. Yeah. These are cool tips and tricks, but mindset really takes care of everything. So
it's the hardest real estate to improve, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Travis, with a big thank you from me, Tyler, and Mike. We appreciate you
guys, man.
And we're gonna pour you out in about as soon as possible. Get another hour out of you.
Let's do it, man. I'd love to come back, dude. I wish I could do it in person. So
yeah. All right, guys. Till next time.
Yes, sir.
This is episode 20 with First Responder Financial Freedom with our man Travis Oglesby of Illinois. Check him out. Thanks.
Sure.
Thanks again for spending some time with us today. If you found value in anything you heard, please share with someone who may benefit. We look forward to connecting between shows in our Facebook group, First Responder Financial Freedom. Till next time.